Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF Yomi, GITTEN DAF Chaf Vav. We are holding at the Mishnah, which is line 7 from the top. Says the Mishnah, Koisei v'teifsei GITTEN. As we know, a get contains 3 parts. Teifes, standard text. Teiref, the revelation, the Gilui, Rashi says, that's the personals. So the names, location, date. And then we have the Chasimus, of course, the signatures on bottom. Hakoyisev teifsei gittin. So Rashi explains, we have a sefer who does this, for a living. And he has some spare time, so he wants to prepare the gittin ahead of time. So he's going to leave it, with the blanks unfilled. This way, when he needs a get, he'll have a get available. He'll just fill in the blanks and they'll use it. Is that permissible? Yes. Says the Mishnah, Koisev teifsei gittin. If one proceeds to write the gittin ahead of time, so he can only write the teifes, and of course he has to leave out all the personal information. So even if he sees, potential divorce brewing, he may not fill out those particulars. He has to leave it blank, pending further developments. He has to leave a blank for the husband's name, the isha's name, for the date. That's regarding a get. What about shtori milva? Loan documents, same thing. You can write up the actual text, but he has to leave out the particulars, the details. The name of the lender, the borrower, a space for the actual amount of money being lent, and for the date as well. Shtori mekach, purchase documents, same thing. He has to leave out the name of the buyer and the seller, the price, the description of the actual property, and the date. This is done based on a takonas chachamim, a practice enacted by the chachamim. Now the Gemara will explain exactly what these words are coming to explain. So according to Tanakama, all documents can be ordered ahead of time, can be produced ahead of time, provided you leave out the particulars, the personal information, whether it's a get isha, shtar milva, or shtar mekach. Just write the teifes without the teiref. That's the Tanakama. Everything's okay. Rabbi Yehuda paisel b'kulan. Rabbi Yehuda takes the opposite opinion. He says, not only can't you do it by a get isha, you can't do it by any document, even the teifes, because it might lead you to doing the teiref and doing it by the get isha, which is a problem because it wasn't written specifically for this person, it wasn't relevant, it's lacking in lishma. Don't do it anytime. Rabbi Lezer strikes a compromise. Machshir b'kulan, he says any other document other than a divorce document, there you can do the teifes provided you don't proceed to the particulars. Chutz migitei nashim, except for the get isha, where we don't even allow you to do the teifes because you may end up doing the teiref shaloi lishma, and of course we need it to be done lishma shenemar because of lo, which means write it lishma. Amar v'damar shmo. When we speak about leaving out the man's name, the woman's name in the get, there is something else that must be left out as well. Something else which is also very crucial. Rashi calls it the ikrei shel get. One of the main elements of the get. Tzorach shianiach af makam. We must leave a space as well for these words. Harei at muteres l'chol adam. You're not permissible. You can go marry anybody. That too is the ikra get, and that too has to be done lishma. And of course, Rabbi Lezer, he was going with Shittas Rabbi Lezer, who says that the ksiva, not only the ksiva has to be done lishma. Damar edim esir karti, according to Rabbi Lezer, who activates the get? Who gives power to the get? Those edim in front of whom you deliver the get to the isha. So, according to him, you don't even need edim signed on the get minat Torah. The Rabbanon we do, but minat Torah not. And therefore, when the pasuk says v'kas of law, it's not going on signing. You don't even need a sign. It's going on the actual writing, the text of the get and the particulars. And therefore, says Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, be careful to leave out the teiref. Teifus can be done ahead of time. That doesn't need to be lishma. That's not really crucial. But the critical parts that get the particulars, the details, the names, the location, the date, and dariyat muteres l'chol adam, which is the crux of the get, that must be done lishma. Obe'ino ksiva lishma. So this is actually the third time that Shmuel connects the Mishnah to Rabbi Lezer. It's over here. We had it back on Chav Aleph, and then on Chav Beis again. All three times, Shmuel says the Mishnah follows Rabbi Lezer's Shita Utzricha. Why does he have to say it three times in a row? If you would only said it on the Mishnah of Chav Aleph and Beis, where the Mishnah tells us, don't write a get attached to the ground, but if you do it, then you take it off the ground before you write the Torah, that's okay. And that's going to Rabbi Lezer, that the ksiva has to be done properly. So, diyash mina kamaisa, if you would have pegged that first Mishnah like Rabbi Lezer, I would say by he, hu di'ikalu ukmak Rabbi Lezer. It makes sense that Mishnah is following Rabbi Lezer, because the Mishnah says, ein kaisvin, don't write a get while it's still attached to the ground, uktani kasvin, and then it says, well, if you did it, it's okay, and the only way to explain it was based on Rabbi Lezer, as we learned there. Aval seifa, but in the next Mishnah of Chav Beis, where we speak about the get being written by a cheres shoyte v'katan, etc., and we say diktanish ein ki maget al b'chaysamav, because what activates to get the signators? So over there, perhaps I would say that's clearly Rab Meir. The Amar, who says Eidi Chasim Akarsi, the ones signing activate the get, and therefore Shmuel says no. The Mishnah actually is following Rabbi Lezer, and it's interpreted accordingly as we learned there. If he only would have told us in that Mishnah that it's Rabbi Lezer, that Mishnah as well can follow Rabbi Lezer very comfortably. Rashi says, although it alludes to people signing, Rabbi Lezer also typically requires the Eidei Mesirah to sign on the get, and actually they're the ones that are usually signing and serving as Eidei Mesirah, so it's sort of all one and the same. When the Mishnah says Chaysamav, it's referring to the Eidei Mesirah, who are typically the signers as well. So it fits Rabbi Lezer. Aval but in our Mishnah, this is a problem. Why? We can say the Sefer Rabbi Lezer Havi. If you take a look at the last part of the Mishnah, who's speaking Rabbi Lezer? Which seems to indicate that Reisha Lav Rabbi Lezer, at the starting portion of the Mishnah, the beginning of the Mishnah is not Rabbi Lezer. If the end is Rabbi Lezer, not the beginning. Tzricha, that compelled Shmuel to explain to us, no, actually, our Mishnah, even the first part is Rabbi Lezer, and apparently, as Rashi says, based on the Gemara later, there are two versions in Rabbi Lezer. According to version 1, represented in the first part of the Mishnah, a taifis can be written ahead of time, whether it's a get or any other star. There's no gzeira here. Whereas in version 2 of Rabbi Lezer, which is reflected in the ending of the Mishnah, when it comes to a get isha, we don't want to take chances. It's too close to home. One step away, we don't allow the taifis to be written. It's one step away from the teiref, which would be a problem. If it was written ahead of time, we don't allow it. Now, the Mishnah tells us, at least in the first shita, taifis is okay ahead of time. Get, shtar milva, shtar mekach, and the Mishnah adds 2 words. Right, leave out the particulars, leave out the personals. Mipnei takana. My takana, what does the Mishnah mean on account of takana? We're going to have 3 pshatim. And basically, the pshatim will represent different approaches to the Mishnah. Is the Mishnah Rabbi Meir, who does not require ksiva l'shma? Then Mipnei takana is alluding to one aspect, to one pshat. If the Mishnah is Rabbi Lezer speaking, because there's no name at the beginning of the Mishnah, it can be either or. Is it Rabbi Lezer who requires ksiva l'shma, as we just learned based on Shmuel's pshat and Rabbi Lezer in the Mishnah? Well, then Mipnei takana means something else. So we're going to have 3 ways to explain the Mishnah, 3 or 4 ways. My takana, what does that mean? Mipnei takana. Amar b'yenesan, mipnei takanas sefer. Really, we're going like Rabbi Lezer. We're very concerned about ksiva l'shma. Really, you shouldn't be writing anything without the lishma, because you might conclude to get, you might write the Torah lishma as well. So Rabbi Lezer would really require you to stay away from this whole idea of writing GITTEN ahead of time. But Mipnei Takana, which means Mipnei Takana Sefer, so that he has Gittin available, doesn't lose any time sitting idle, we allow him to do that. For Rabbi Lezer here, Dama Edem Esir Karti, of course, is Rabbi Lezer speaking that the ksiva must be done l'shma ubedinu, and really, adafilu teves namel lichteiv. Really, we should not. The din should not allow him to even write the teves shalei l'shma, because he might do the teiref as well. Umishum takana seifrim, and in order to assist the seifrim in their livelihood, shor Rabban allowed it. So that's the Tanakam. Then we move on to Rabbi Yehuda. That's the next sheet in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Paisel Bakulan. He says whether it's a get or other documents, you cannot write a teifis ahead of time. Why? Gazar teifis atu teiref. If you do the teifis, you might do the teiref as well. And number two, gazar shtarois atu gittin. If you're allowed by other stars, which don't need the shma, but you might infuse things and do the same by gittin. So it's sort of like a double gzera, but he considers it all one and the same concern. Because the teiref of the get shalei lishma is puzzle, we can't do the teifis either because it might lead to the teiref. Then, if it's a problem by gittin, we don't even allow it by other stories. Not only the teiref, even the teifis, because it might lead to doing it by get as well. Rabbi Lezer says no. I'll strike a compromise. Machshe bekulan. This is version 2 of Rabbi Lezer at the end of the Mishnah. He says, by other stories, that's okay. You can write the teifis ahead of time, impersonal. But by a get, Isha, that's too close. That's just one step away. We don't allow even the teifis. Teifis atu teiref. Because, teifis atu teiref gazar. Because Rabbi Lezer is very concerned that by a get Isha, you do the teifis, shalei lishma, you might do the teiref, shalei lishma. So, it makes sense. It's just one step away. But he's not going to stretch the gzeir and extend it 2 steps away. Shtoros atu gittin legazer. To say just because it's a problem by gittin, we shouldn't allow the fellow to do the teifes by other star, which doesn't even require lishma. That's already like a gzera. He doesn't do that. He's not going to be machmer on that. So according to this pshat, the Mishnah goes like this. We start with Rabbi Lezer. A get needs to be nichtav lishma. Which part? Teiref. But because of the seifrim, we want them to have what to do. We want the gittin to be available and business to flow. So we allow them to do teifsin. Whether we're gittin or other stars, doesn't matter. Rabbi Yehuda says never. It might create confusion. Rabbi Yehuda says by gittin don't, by other stars yes. And he concludes, Rabbi Yehuda concludes with the words, Shenemar v'kosavla lishma. Asks the Gemara, so Rabbi Lezer tells us you can't do the teifis of the get because you might do the teiref shalei lishma, and he gives a reason because of lo lishma. But that pasuk is going on what? On the teiref, which is the critical part of the get, which requires lishma. Min teiref v'ki ksiv la. The word la is at teiref u'dichsiv, and you're telling me that you can't even write the teifis shalei lishma. Ela ima rather revise the Mishnah like this. He meant to say like this: Mishum shenemar v'kasav lo lishma. We sort of put in the word mishum. Why can't I write a teifes shalei lishma? Because of the pasuk of a kasav lo lishma, which is going on the teiref. We want to keep you a step away for concern of confusion. And that's who is speaking, Rabbi Lezer. 1 second. Rabbi Lezer a minute ago in the beginning of the Mishnah tells us it's okay. Kasha de Rabbi Lezer. We seem to have a contradiction between the two Rabbi Lezer. The answer is Terei Tanoi. I'll leave the Rabbi Lezer 2 versions. Each Tan has had his own version of Rabbi Lezer. Version 1 allowed a teifis to be written regardless. And version 2, the last part of the Mishnah, says, okay, other stories you're fine, but not by gittin. So according to this approach, Pnei HaTakana was simply to assist the scribes. Rab Shapsi Amar Chizkiah, he had a different shot. He says the name of Chizkiah, Mishum Ketata. That when the Mishnah says Pnei HaTakana, it's not a reason for permissibility. It's not a reason for a heter, why we can write the teifis ahead of time. Just the opposite. We're going like Reb Meir. The ksiva, the entire ksiva, whether the teifis or the teiref, can be done shalei lishma ahead of time. That's how he learns the beginning of the Mishnah. It's not Rabbi Lezer, it's Rabbi Meir. No concern with Ksiva Lishma. So what is the Mishnah coming to answer? As though it's like an excuse. We're allowing it. No. It's explaining why we don't allow you to finish the get. Let's say you see a divorce brewing. Why can't he write the get ahead of time, the sefer? The teifus and the teiref. Answer is bnei takana. What does that mean? Mishum ktata. We want to avoid, generating conflict in families and being the facilitator of divorces. And the Gemara will explain. For Rabbi Meir, we're really going with Rabbi Meir. The main thing is echasimas l'shma. We don't care about ksiva l'shma. Ubedinu, and the truth is, and that's what the Mishnah is coming to address, that in reality we should allow you to do the entire get ahead of time. You can write even the teiref, even the particulars, the names, the details, the personals ahead of time, even though they're not ready for divorce. So why not? The answer is because it can happen that the Isha will, get wind of the sefer writing a get on her name. She'll overhear the sefer reading his get, the kalkasiv, and she sees that she hears that he's writing a get for her. And she's thinking, who ordered this get, if not my husband? My husband told him to write the get. Oh, that's really going to generate conflict, which wouldn't have happened otherwise. And she's going to create conflict with him. It's going to be discord. Therefore, says the Mishnah, stop right there. Mr. Sefer, you want to write the teifus, gesundheit, but don't get personal. Rav Chizda Amar Avimi, he has a different pshat in Mepnei Takana, Mepshum Takanas Agunois, in order to protect women from being abandoned. Now there are two ways to learn this. Amri lo Rab Meir. Some say this was on Rab Meir's track, who does not require ksiva l'shma. V'amri lo Rab Lezer. And some explain this based on Rab Lezer. And the Gemara will elaborate. Amri lo Rab Meir. Some explained it based on Rab Meir. The Amari dechasim makarti. The chasim is make the get. Ubedinu da afilo teiref nami lichtev. The truth is that the sefer should be able to write the entire get. Ksiva, the teifus and the teiref ahead of time. But don't do that. Mishum takanas agunois. Why? V'zimnin davlik tata bada. Because you're making it too easy for the husband to divorce. You're preparing a ready-made get for him. And it can happen that he has a davlik tata bada. There's some discord in the family, some tension, and perhaps he's hit a fit of rage, and he sees a get right there. He grabs it and he throws it to her. Basically, easy divorce. 1, 2, 3. Now she's sitting abandoned, basically divorced, which perhaps would not have happened had the husband had, a couple of minutes of contemplation time, while the get was actually going to be written and all that. It takes time. So making it too easy is dangerous. So that's why the Mishnah says, don't. Mr. Sefer, don't write this teiref. That's one approach. Amrila. The other way to explain Mipnei Takunas Agunois is Rabbi Lezer. It's really Rabbi Lezer's sheet. The Amar Edim Sir Kart. He holds that the Ksiv has to be Lishma. And the Mishnah is explaining why we allow the Sefer to write a teifus. So the first shot was why we don't allow him to write the teiref. Now we're explaining the opposite, why he can write the teifus. Ubedinu da afilu teifus. The truth is that we're so concerned that he might write the teiref shel lishma, which according to Rabbi Lezer is a problem. Don't even write the teifus. One part might lead to the next. Why could he? Why do we allow it? The answer is takanas agunois. V'zimnan de boy l'meizl m'dina siyam. It could happen that the husband's on his way out. He's about to embark on a journey to a faraway place. Well, he wants to divorce her, just in case he doesn't make it back. Okay, and to find a sefer, it's off hours. He's not going to find the sefer on the spur of the moment. And then he'll just be compelled to leave without giving her a get. V'azal, and he'll leave. And she'll be sitting abandoned. Perhaps he'll never return, and there's trouble. So in order to facilitate this, in order to protect the Isha from Igun, we do allow the sefer to write the teifus, so that it makes it for a more convenient and easy divorce. So bottom line, Mishnah says, Mr. Sefer, you want to write the get ahead of time, gesundheit, but only the teifus, not the teiref. Why? We have 4 ways to explain those words. It's basically based on Rabbi Lezer, right? So if it's Rabbi Lezer speaking, the ksiva needs to be lishma. Why do we allow the teifus? You might do the teiruf shalei lishma. The answer is we're coming to help the seifrim in their livelihood, so that they can fill their spare time preparing documents in advance. We have the next pshat. It's Rameir speaking. We don't need ksiva lishma. I'm coming to explain why we don't allow him to finish the teiruf, because she might get wind that he's writing a get in her name, and that might create animosity. Then we have takonas agunos, two ways to explain. Either Rameir, and really the entire teifus and teiruf can be done ahead of time. But we don't want to make it for an easy divorce, to have, ready-made gittin available, personalized. Therefore, we stop at the teiruf. Second pshat is Rabbi Lezer speaking. You need the ksiva lishma. We shouldn't allow him to do the teifus either, because he might do the teiruf, but we're concerned that perhaps he'll need a quick get on his way out, and this makes it available for him, and that's why we allow it. So we leave out the names and the date as well. Kapasak Batani, the Mishnah states it as a blank fact. Whether he's divorcing her from Nisuin after having been married to her, or they were just engaged. Either way, make sure to leave the date, blank, and don't have it predated. Let them fill it in when it comes to be. Question is why? Why do we need a precise date? So if they were a married couple getting divorced, then we understand why we need an accurate date, which reflects the actual divorce. We had that discussion back on DAF Yud Zayin. The two reasons why we need the accurate date. Whether the reason is because we're concerned about znus. He might be married to his niece, and he'll try to protect her from the oynish of Bezdin. So even though she deviated and interacted with another man as married, but they'll claim, well, she was divorced at that time. That's why we have a zman in the get, which indicates that the znus took place before the get was given. So that applies, and that's why we have to have the zman accurately reflective of the event. Don't write it ahead of time. And the other reason applies as well. The reason was that, the husband has a right to access his wife's produce, grow and go for a field. That stops when they're preparing for divorce, or when the divorce actually takes place. We want it to be dated properly so that we know when he has to stop taking the payers. But that all applies to a married couple. There's no concern, the payers concern, yeah, but but if they were just engaged and they're getting divorced, so who cares about an accurate zman in the get? So the reason of znus applies, because in the time of Chazal, an engaged couple had a din of esh isish. So that applies as well. We need to know exactly when things happened. But if the concern is because of the extra payers that he might be taking, but he's not taking payers during the engagement, he has no right, he has no access, he's not entitled at that early point in their relationship. Arusa mi isla peri. Since when does an arusa provide her husband with peris, a fiancé with peris? So why do we need the zman in the get to be accurate? Amar Rav Amram. The answer is like this. Ha milsa, the following response, shamis minei de ula. I heard from Ula. The Amar, he said like this. The reason is mishum takonas vlad. We're concerned about protecting the offspring. That was his answer. This was meant to be an explanation why the get of an arusa has to be accurate and exact. So he said because of takonas vlad. I'm not sure what he meant. V'lo yedana ma'niu. I'm not sure exactly what that means. But kivan dashamis l'hadasani. Once I heard the next brisa. Ha'omer gisvu get larusasi. So the brisa says like this: a fellow instructs the people to write a get for his kala, for his arusa, and he says like this: I'm not using it now. I want to, keep it in the safe for the future. Perhaps after I marry her, I'll use it then. Ain't a get, you can't use it. Why not? The reason is because people might say, look, this get here was written way back when, and look, now she had a child. Ooh, she had this child out of marriage. post-divorce, it's not so complimentary for the child. It's a pagam. So therefore, don't use old GITTEN. Okay? So you can't write a get now to be used only after he marries her. Because in between there's interaction as married, and perhaps there'll be a child born who will appear to have been born post-divorce. So once we know that brisa, says Rav Amram, now I understand why the Arusa's get has to be properly dated. For the same reason. People might say the get was issued before the child came about, which basically means the child was born out of marriage. So that explains our Mishnah, why the get of even an Arusa has to be properly dated. So if you want to write it ahead of time, leave out the date, which will be filled in later, because if you write the date as per today, and then, he might marry her and then only divorce her later, and you're using a predated get, which may not reflect well on that child born later. Amar Rab Zera, Amar Rab Abba, Bar Shila, Amar Rab Nuna, Saba, Amar Rab Acha, Rab Ada, Bar Ava, Amar Rav. Halacha Rab Elazar. Back to the Mishnah. We have 3 shittas. May a sefer write a teifus ahead of time? Tanakama says yes, in all cases. Rabbi Yehuda says never. Rabbi Elazar says, well, by GITTEN, don't take your chances, but by other stories it's okay. We paskin like Rabbi Elazar. Kari Rav Alei, in fact, Rav related to Rabbi Elazar with a very complimentary term. Kari Rav Alei to Rabbi Elazar, he called him Tovinu the Chakimi, the fortunate of all the Chachamim. So basically, he complimented him and his shita, and he held like that. So basically, by the get, don't write the teifus ahead of time. Va'afilu b'shar shtaris nami, says the Gemara. Okay, so he's paskening, he's following Rabbi Elazar even in terms of the leniency, in terms of allowing a sefer to write a teifus by other stories. Are we following Rabbi Elazar in that too? Because there were 2 things Rabbi Elazar said. One, chumrah, don't write a teifus of a get ahead of time, because you might write the teirif. And you may write a teifus of other stories ahead of time. So we're following Rabbi Elazar in that too, because really, it was written ahead of time. It wasn't written to reflect an event. So you're sort of writing, Reuben lent Shimon $1 million. It never took place. There's an element of lack of integrity there, perhaps. Is that a concern? Va'amar Papi, Shmed Rava. We heard in the name of Rava. Hayashrata Dayani. So this is a document which Bezdin issues, a certification document. This shtar that we have has been certified by Bezdin. Now, the Michtav Makami, if it was written prior, the Sahadu Sahadi, prior to the witnesses coming and testifying, Achasim Yisidayu, that in fact these are their signatures, so you can't use that certification document. Why? Because it was written ahead of time. Alma Mechsek Shukr, apparently because it looks like something untrue. Hachanami here as well. When you're writing a shtar chayv ahead of time, Mechsek Shikra, doesn't look good, it looks like sheker. So that's the kash. Answer the Gemara, no, there's no concern. Velasa, that concern doesn't exist. You know why? Because you can write it ahead of time as long as you're not going to activate it. You're not going to sign it, you're not going to give it over. It's just sort of a spare document. So even though you're writing words that never happened, that never took place, but you're not actually using it, and that's okay. How do we know this? Velesa. But the Rav Nachman used to tell us, he holds that you can write a get ahead of time, right? Even if you found the get in the trash bin. And you signed it lishma and you gave it to her, it's fine. Even the Rabban who disagreed with Rav, it's only because of lishma issues. By a get, because they hold, Rabbi Elazar holds the actual ksivan is to be lishma, which you don't have. So there's a side problem. But other documents can be done in this manner. You can write it ahead of time. In fact, we have a raya, another raya. Suppose a person borrowed money based on a shtar, and the shtar, as we know, generates sort of a lien on his properties, and he paid off the loan. Can he re-borrow, reusing that same shtar on that day? But you can't reuse that shtar on the same day. Why? Not because it looks like a lie. There's a technical problem. Shekvar nimchal shibude, because the shibud, the commitment generated by the first star, which sort of places a lien on his properties, that's been cancelled once he paid back the loan. So you can't sort of reactivate the lien using the same stale star. You have to write a new star. So the second loan is sort of like a milval peh. It's like a verbal commitment. It's not backed up with a document. That's the only reason. Time of the nimchal shibud, only because the shibud was cancelled and forgiven. A technical procedural problem. Aval misham shikr lechashinan. Apparently, in terms of sheker, there's no concern. So even if it was written and signed ahead of time, that's okay, as long as it wasn't handed over and activated in an improper fashion. So bottom line, we have a Mishnah with Rishitos. May a sefer write a toifus, a standard text, ahead of time. Always yes, never. And according to the last shita, by GITTEN not, by other stars yes. And the reason for this din is mipnei takana. Either it's to help the sefer, or it's coming to explain why you can't do the personals as well ahead of time. Don't create machlokes amongst families. Takanas akunis is another prat, either to make it available, to make it unavailable, depending on the shitas we had. And then we required the zman to be done ahead of time, on time as well. You can't do it ahead of time, whether it's mina nesuin or mina erisin. We're concerned about gita kaidim levna. And the halacha is like Rabbi Lezer, the final Rabbi Lezer in the Mishnah, which is that by GITTEN, don't do the teifas ahead of time because it might lead to the teiref shalei lishma, but by other stars it's okay. We're not concerned of echsek shikra as long as you don't use it improperly. All the best to you and Hatzlacha Rabbah.